Damba jumde de jewa da jumba yang damba zobe sanje riba da shabso demba dewara jeba jeden jemba jebo debe kalo jorwa lana meba lada menam je damba sanje jumde de pejawa Shaja doba la jaze lo jodo jazo je ho edamba jomden de jin shaba da jomba yanda ban zobe sanje rigba da jabzu demba dewara shaba jiden jemba jebo debe kalu jorwa lana meba Lada menam je domba sanje jomden de bejawa jaja tuba la jazel chodo jazo je ho domba jomden de jen shaba ta jomba yanda ban zobe sanje rigba dan shabsu temba Dewara jeba jeden jemba jebo debe galo jorwa lana meba lada menam je tomba sanje chomdende bejawa jaja duwa la jaze lo chodo jazo je ho sanje chodan soje chonama la Janju bado dane jazo che dagi chushin jebe sonamanje Dola penje sanje drobara sho sanje chodan soje chonamala Janju bado dane javso che dagi chushi jibe sonamanje Dola penje sanje drobara sho sanje chodan soje chonamala Janju bado dane jazo che dagi chushi jebe sonamanje Dola penje sanje drobara sho. Good morning to all of you. I hope you can hear clearly. Looks like you could hear me. So welcome back. It's been quite some time since we had our class the last time. So before we begin with today's class, I would like to wish you all a very happy new year. We are already in 2024. And you all know me well that at the beginning of every new year or every class, every new class of the year, I try to kind of remind all of you to have a new, what do you call the New Year resolution. I always remind people that New Year is something where we can look back to the past year and how we have done in terms of our Dharma practice. Of course, all of you have attended every class, and I think hardly any of you have missed classes. That's great. But the whole purpose of Dharma practice is not just attending classes. If that were the mere purpose, then of course you have all fulfilled. But Dharma practice, for us, those who are studying Dharma, it is not just merely attending class, merely listening to the talks. But most importantly, it is to really, really try our best to apply them into practice, and then try to bring some changes, inner changes, transformation. That is the whole purpose. Otherwise, why would you all waste your Sunday morning every Sunday? Spend, when we have in-person class, spend 2 hours or more than 2 hours when you include the traveling time. Why would you waste that time? You could have used that time doing other important things. But then we set aside everything and then come to attend class. And right now, When the time struck 10, you left everything, whatever you're doing, and then came to listen to this talk. So for what? Why we are doing that? We must ask that question every now and then. That's what I believe. It is so important to really remind us what is the whole purpose of all this. We all want to bring some inner transformation. So for that reason, we really need to look back, reflect, and see what changes, what progress you have made in the past. Otherwise, every year will finish or end this way, and there is nothing to show, even after 10, 20 years of attending class. Maybe you have gained some little knowledge, but little knowledge is always dangerous. And even if you have gained some knowledge, but it is subject to forgetting. So unless we have really implemented, unless we have really tasted the Dharma, then, otherwise it becomes a mundane thing. It becomes a ritual. It becomes a habit. It is just part of your life that you do. Nothing different from the other things that you do. So this is the time where we reflect over the past year and see whether we have done or whether we have achieved any progress in our Dharma journey. If we find that we haven't done much, if we realize that we are the same person in terms of inner transformation, the same old person who started the class at the beginning of 2023, then that is kind of unfortunate. But it's okay in that sense. At the moment, we are still alive. We can still do something about it. We are not on our deathbed. We are not, dying at the moment. So in that sense, we still have time. We can still do something about it. We can still rectify. We can still change. So, what should we do now? Today, maybe most of you have already done this thing, but those of you who haven't done or who haven't made this resolve, so today is the time before we embark further into our class. It is the time to really resolve to do something different this year, to have this determination that when 2024 ends, I'll have something to look back and feel proud of what I have done. So we really need to set that motivation. Because if we don't do that, then it will be just another year. I always believe in intention. I always believe in motivation. It is always important to really set a goal. This year, I'm going to do something differently. You can set up your own goals. Remember, we discussed the success of achieving one's goal depends on how specific the goal is. If we just simply say, this year I'm going to try my best to practice Dharma, then that's not specific. That's abstract. And there's nothing you can measure that. There's no way you can measure that. Whereas if we are able to set a specific goal, let's say, I will not miss any classes. I will not miss. I will attend all the classes. That can be a specific goal. You can measure that. You can tell whether you have achieved that goal or not, whether you are on the, track of fulfilling that goal or not. Or another example can be, not only will I attend the classes, every time I attend a class, I will make sure that I will get something to really practice. Every week, I will get something out of it. Because honestly, when we ask ourselves, do we do that? We come to class, we spend 2 hours listening to a talk, and then those who are very diligent, you take down notes. You take notes. Once get home, close the notebook, that's it. And the next Sunday when I ask a question, it's very fuzzy. Nothing clear. And sometimes, did we cover that? We ask, isn't it? So that doesn't really serve much purpose. So now you can change that. You can say that, okay, from now onwards, from today onwards, every time I attend a class, I will go home with something that I can apply, that I can practice in my life. So if you are able to imagine, if you are able to do that, every year, every class, you are getting something. Not only you are getting something, you are applying that to your life. You are applying that to bring the positive transformation within you. By the time when we reach end of 2024, imagine how many lessons or how many practices you are able to amass or able to filter from these classes, and how many types of practices you are able to practice. And because of that, I believe that you can see the progress. You can see at least some progress, some transformation. If that happens, then that serves the purpose. So, what I am trying to say here is that it is very important to set up that determination. Because if we don't do that, we are subject to what you call death. And we know that death is certain, but the time of death is uncertain. That is the scary part. We all know that eventually we will die, but we don't know when. It can come any moment, any time. Just now, you are in class, but tonight, nobody knows. Not even ourselves can guarantee that I will be alive by tomorrow. Imagine if that happens tonight. Are you ready? Remember, we have discussed this before. The measure of a Dharma practitioner is when one is faced with death. The great practitioner, they kind of look forward to death. They are ready to face the death. In a sense, they are quite happy to face the death because they are ready, they have prepared. And even the medium one, even though that person is not really looking forward to dying, but at least there is no fear, there is no sense of dreadfulness. A person, through practice, if one is able to have that confidence, not to have that anxiety, not to have that dreadfulness, then one can say that that person is a medium practitioner, Dharma practitioner. And minimum, if we are a Dharma practitioner, at minimum, we should not have regret. If we do not fall in any of these three categories, then we really need to think twice whether we call ourselves a Dharma practitioner or not. So, of course, the best is that you prepare yourself to be ready and you look forward to this thing called death. But even if you are unable to do that, at least have no regret. That only comes about when we really put our time, when we really put our effort, when we really commit our time and effort to Dharma practice. That happens when we try our best, really try our best. When it comes to other things, conventional things, when it comes to making money, we will try all kinds of methods, approaches. We will attempt 100 times. We will do all kinds of things to make sure that we achieve that conventional goal, the material gain or whatever it is. But do we apply the same kind of the commitment when it comes to Dharma practice? If we do that, then we will have no regret whenever the death comes. So here it says, I think this is from Dhammapada. I'm not sure what is called in English translation. Pena nyevar seba ta gomba kangda kang porwe sebe chungdo nyembatar minam sojan tishinos. This is talking about human life, our life, lifespan. The analogy is that if somebody who is sentenced to death, and when he is brought to the execution room, the more step he takes towards that execution room, he is approaching nearer and nearer to his death. So likewise, it says that our life is like that. Every day, every minute, we are approaching our end. The beginning of our end has started the moment we are born. So even now, while you are listening to this talk, you are running towards your end. So it is important to really think that way. Open up to that possibility, that fact that every minute, every hour, we are walking nearer to our death. So then it kind of instills this fear that I must do something. So here the whole purpose is not about instilling just fear. Here this kind of fear is different from other kind of fear. Because this kind of fear, there is something we can do about it. What we can do is we spend our time doing Dharma practice so that we are ready to face when the time comes. So the more we prepared, the less we will be fearful of. So if we realize now, the sooner we realize this fear, the better we will be prepared. The more time we will have to prepare for that. So that's why it is always important to contemplate on the impermanent nature of things, especially the impermanent nature of our life. The fact that it can end any moment, any time. So with that, let's make a firm determination that from today onwards, I will really, bring some drastic changes in the way I practice Dharma. For most of us, Dharma practice is kind of a side thing. It's not the primary thing. It's a secondary thing. Our main goal is about these worldly things, the material things. And then if there is any remnant of time, if there's balance of time, then I may engage in this and that practice. So it's time for us to change that attitude. If we are really serious about practicing Dharma and getting prepared for death. So with that, let's dive into today's topic. So we have finished discussing chapter 6 of Shantideva's Bodhicharya Avatara, which is the topic of patience. So, according to the text, the next topic is perseverance. So I thought that we will leave that topic for now and then jump into the next chapter, which is chapter 8. I think the notice that I sent you, I think it states chapter 7, but that was my mistake. It's actually chapter 8. The reason why I decided to jump is that His Holiness has repeatedly recommends several chapters from Shantideva, and chapter 6 and chapter 8 is one of them. So I thought that I will just cover that first, and then if time permits, we can go back. We can go back and then, discuss the chapter of perseverance. So this semester, we are going to discuss on the chapter of concentration. It begins with a concentration chapter, but then it, it dives deeper into generating or cultivating bodhicitta. So, I have covered this, how to train in shamatha, basically covering the 9 stages of concentration or the state of mind that eventually leads to shamatha, or in Tibetan we call it shine, and I think the English translation is meditative stabilization. So I have covered that in Tibetan, and I thought that I have covered that in English as well, but obviously I did not. So I thought that I will cover that first in 2 sessions. Hopefully I can finish in 2 sessions. And then we can start reading from the Shantidevas chapter 8. So this chapter, how to train in shamatha, I have divided into 2 classes. So today's classes is more of a preliminary. So today what I am about to say, you may find nothing new. It is more of a, the normal things about meditation, the basic things. I feel that it is important to cover this holistically or wholly. So today I will spend some time talking about the basics. So first, what is meditative stabilization? So meditative stabilization. In here, I think in Tibetan word is Tinginzen, single-pointed concentration. Or did I write it wrongly? But anyway, the definition is about what is single-pointed concentration or what is single-pointed meditation. So because the jine or shamatha is part of that. So first we need to understand what that means. Sorry. So meditative stabilization is a virtuous, first of all, it has to be a virtuous mind, and then it has to be single-pointed, one-pointed state of mind that stays fixed on its object of meditation without distraction to other things. So I think nothing new. You already know about this. So when we say single-pointed concentration, is a mind that is resting on a single object without any distraction. The mind which has the ability to focus on a particular object for as long as possible. So that's general meaning of single-pointed concentration. And when you achieve shamatha, then you are able to do that. So now the question is, what are the main techniques? Because when we try to rest our mind on an object, it is very, very difficult. We cannot even rest our mind on a single object for even maybe like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 minute. Those who do meditation on daily basis, maybe they will be able to do longer periods, or they will be able to rest their mind on a single object for some time. But for most of us, especially beginners, it is very difficult. And it is interesting that when you first start meditating and you have this misconception that you are doing quite okay. But the more you do, when you progress further into your ability to rest on an object, then you started to realize that your mind really wanders so quickly, so fast. Earlier you thought that you are quite good at it, but then you realize that that's not the case. Because as a beginner, when we do that, we don't even realize that our mind has wandered. So through repeated practice, then we become aware of mind's, what is that called? The ability to scatter away. So in order to develop that ability, the ability to focus our mind on the object, there are two techniques. So we can utilize, first of all, the mindfulness. So mindfulness, in a Tibetan term for mindfulness that it is translated, the Tibetan term for mindfulness is Temba. But there is a lot of writings whether that terminology is correct, whether that terminology, that mindfulness really captures the meaning of Tibetan word Temba. I think in Sanskrit it's called smriti or something. So anyway, we all have kind of rough idea of what mindfulness means. So a technique in which your attention is not restricted from whatever it had as its original object of meditation. So in order for us to be able to remain focused on a particular object, mindfulness is very crucial, because mindfulness is the one that really remembers, recollects that we have to focus, our mind needs to be focused on that particular object. So without mindfulness, without the presence of mindfulness, there is no way that we can remain focused on a single object for a long period of time. But is this enough? Having just mindfulness, is it enough to develop the state of mind that has the ability to remain focused on a particular object for a long period of time? The answer is no. We still need another thing or another technique, which is vigilance, or sometimes it's translated as introspection or introspective awareness. So what it means is an accurate awareness of whether you are distracted and whether you are becoming distracted. So this is another crucial thing, another key component that must be present if we really want to develop that kind of mind. So mindfulness only remembers to keep our mind focused on that particular object. But we need the vigilance to monitor whether our mind is remaining on that particular object or not, whether our mind is wandering away or not, whether other kinds of thoughts are arising in our mind or not. Without vigilance, we wouldn't even notice when our minds have wandered away, when our mind is not on the object that we wanted to focus on. So these two play a key role. In order to develop, even let's not mention about shamatha, even a decent concentration, we need these two things. Utilizing these two techniques, these two components, there is a possibility that we can develop such a focused mind. Today my slide is not that obedient. So in order to understand this better, in commentaries, they use this analogy. The analogy of how elephants are trained. Remember in Southeast countries, Southeast Asian countries, they use elephants to help them with the lifting their, what do you call those, the wood, the logs, trees and all that. So elephants are wild animals. They won't listen, they won't be obedient, they won't be, they will not work for us. But these elephants, from young, they were trained. So there are three things involved when a trainer trains an elephant. So first, there's a rope or a chain. In this case, chain, rope, maybe an elephant is too strong for a rope. So they use a chain to tie the elephant to a pole so that it cannot wander away. So they use the chain and tie that either to a tree or a stake. And then every time the elephant wanders away, tries to go away, they use this bull hook or the iron, sharp iron, this piece, to bring them back, to direct to the way or to the direction they wanted it to move. So these things are involved in training elephant. So likewise, when training our mind, which is like an elephant, which is like a wild elephant, we use these three things: mindfulness, object, vigilance. So rope is likened to mindfulness. With a rope, with a mindfulness, we remember to keep our mind on the object, which is like the stick or the pole. And then every time when our mind wanders, vigilance comes into play. Vigilance becomes aware of our mind wandering. Or in the case of laxity, when we realize that our mind is sinking into laxity, then vigilance kind of acts, gives us the warning so that we can take the necessary steps. So that's the analogy. So you can see that mindfulness and vigilance is so important. Not just developing concentration. Mindfulness, vigilance must be constantly with us for a practitioner. Without mindfulness, we will forget that we are supposed to follow this particular practice or behave in a particular way, to adopt a particular conduct, to think in a particular way. So mindfulness helps us to direct our physical, verbal, and mental action. And then vigilance is the one who monitors whether we are doing exactly what we are supposed to do. So not only in meditation, but in our life, in our daily life, these two are crucial. So now, coming back to the main topic. So in Lamrim Chemo, in the Lamrim text, so it is divided into these subtopics. So how to train in Shamatha is divided into 3 different subtopics or subheadings. Relying on the preconditions for Shamatha. In order to develop Shamatha, I don't know whether you are really interested in developing this mind, the Shamatha. If one is serious about developing Shamatha, then these preconditions are so important. If you kind of ignore these requirements or preconditions, then there's no way one can achieve Shamatha. Sometimes we tend to kind of downplay these preliminary practices. We know that in order for us to really meditate and achieve realizations through the meditation, the stages of meditation of Lamrim, we first make sure that we engage in the 6 preparatory practices, preliminary practices. Some people think that, these are preliminary things, these are not important. I am for the main one. I don't care about those preliminary things. These are unimportant. That's a mistake. It's like, it's saying like, I don't want to have a stable foundation. I'm just interested on building 3-story houses. Without a stable foundation, you cannot build a stable 3-story house. The house will be stable and proper only when your foundation is firm and strong. So likewise here, when we are really serious about developing Shamatha, then we need to take seriously about these preconditions, so that we will discuss later. And once we have fulfilled the preconditions or prerequisites, then Lama Tsongkhapa talks about how to cultivate Shamatha on that basis. That basis means once now that you have ensured the prerequisites, so then how to cultivate Shamatha. And once you follow the instructions given there, then the 3rd chapter or the topic is on measure of successfulness. How do we know that we have gained Shamatha? How do we know that we have arrived at that level? So these are the 3 subheadings or the topics that we are going to dive into, or we are going to unpack. So what are the preconditions? What are the preconditions? So the first is dwelling in an appropriate appropriate area. So normally who are serious about doing meditation, they go away from city life. They go to remote places to do their meditation, mainly because there is less distraction. One can really commit or focus on one's own practice. Imagine you, let's say if you live with an extended family, you have children who have children, so you have so many grandkids, grandchildren. Try to meditate. No way. Even having one grandkid is quite handful. Imagine if you have 5 of those. So, for that reason, people normally seek a quiet place. So that place, wherever you are seeking, the remote area, it has to be appropriate area. So appropriate in a sense that it has easy access to basic needs. You have easy access to food, shelter, clothing, and all that. If you go so high up in the mountain and it takes, let's say, 1 month to come down for your basic needs, especially food, then that's not an appropriate area, because nobody will come to offer or provide you the necessary subsistence. In Tibet, it is a very common thing that people go into forests, in the caves to do meditation, and then lay people, they are more than happy to provide the needs. So in Bhutan, there are so many retreaters, and people take upon themselves to bring monthly ration to them. So anyway, he is talking about that you have to live in a place that has easy access to food and shelter. And these are common sense things, so nothing really special, and have little I think I'm missing something. So in this dwelling in appropriate area, there are other things. One is easy access to basic needs, and then the place or the area needs to be free from problems, let's say, which is not prone to robbers or wild animal attacks. And also the place need to be free from sicknesses. That's why it's called good grounds. So good place to live, that means it's conducive to living, to thriving. There is no danger of being robbed or being killed by wild animals. And then good ground, which means free from sicknesses. Some places, this refers to the environmental qualities. Some places, some areas, some environments are toxic and hazardous. So if you camp there and do your meditation, of course, there is danger that you will contract all kinds of sicknesses. And also places where prone to all kinds of sicknesses, pandemic or whatever. So these, and then of course, good company. You also need to live in an area that has a virtuous company. If your company or those who know your neighbors or whoever, they are not what do you call? They are not motivated to do virtue. They are not engaging in virtuous act, so that there is a problem. There is a danger that it can affect you. So if you have a virtuous company, then that person can inspire you even more to do virtue. And then the place has to be quiet, not crowded during the daytime, and also quiet during the nighttime. So these are common sense things. So from this, if we are not really going into the forest or in the caves to do meditation, what we can apply, what we can take from this is that when you do meditation, when you do your daily meditation, try to find a quiet place. Try to choose a time that is, try to choose a time that that allows you to meditate quietly. Let's say if you live with grandkids or with children, so you choose a time when they are away at school or they were away in particular time of the day, so that you are not disturbed, so that you can really focus on your meditation. So that's what we should take away from this. And then the rest, I think it can apply to all of us, whether we go into jungle or not. So the second one is having little desire. So the one who is into developing shamatha, if your mind is full of desires, wanting this, wanting that, so no way you will be able to focus on your meditation. You will be so, engrossed in chasing your own desires. So it is so important that you try to curb your desire so that you can focus on your meditation. And then being content. So when you go to do retreat, you may end up with very little things, and that is the requirement. So when you have little things, especially when you go into jungle or remote areas, there are so many things, so many facilities that you lack. You don't have that. But be content with what little we have. If we fail to do that, then of course it can hinder our practice. When people go to their cabins in the woods, the people don't really complain. You make work what little there is. And because of that, you enjoy your stay in your cabin. If you are so focused on what facility you are missing, what is lacking there, then your holiday will be a disaster. You will not enjoy. So this all depends on how contented we are. So it is important for a practitioner to be contented with what we have. This is not case only with the practitioners, isn't it? The less contentment you have, the unhappier one becomes. Because our desire has no limit. And at the moment, there is always something new. Even when it comes to our salary, our pay, our benefits, there is always something better than what you are getting. So if you fail to have this contentment, and if you keep eyeing the better ones, then you will never be satisfied. You will never be happy. Always feeling this resentment. Why am I not getting this? Why is he or she getting this? I'm doing the same amount of work. So this applies to everybody. So one of the key to be happy is to cultivate contentment. Completely giving up many activities, that also makes sense. When you decided to do a meditation, in this case to develop shamatha, and if you still have all these other activities, so you will hardly find time to really focus on your meditation because there are so many other things. So that's why some of the retreaters, they keep running away. In Bhutan, there are so many cases. When the local people come to know that, oh, there is a retreater there, they will go and then go to see the person and then request for this and that. And then it became more and more popular. More and more people started to come. And then one day you go there and the retreater has left. He has moved elsewhere because he finds that it is so much of a distraction. So even though attending to other people's need is part of practice, but at this stage, when one is really focused on developing shamatha, it is better to avoid that for the time being. And practicing pure ethical discipline, this is also very, very important. Because shamatha or shine is really bringing your mind inward. You're bringing your attention inward. You are trying to avoid all kinds of distractions. So what helps us to limit our distraction is when we follow ethical discipline. That's why we say that out of the three higher trainings, the foundation, the main one, is ethical discipline. In order to really achieve liberation or Buddhahood, we need to engage in the practice or the training of wisdom. But in order for the wisdom practice to be effective, we need to develop this concentration. That's why we need to engage in the training of concentration. But the training of concentration is about limiting our distraction. So for that, we need to first curb the grosser level of distraction. For that reason, we have the ethical discipline or the morality. So that's why we take different vows. We take the, what you call the individual liberation vows. For monks, we take different vows. We take, as a Bodhisattva practitioner, we take Bodhisattva vows. As a Tantra practitioner, we take Tantric vows. And then for lay, we take lay vows, Upasika vows. So these are all to prevent us from engaging in these various distractions. But for everybody who consider oneself as a practitioner, we must abide by the 10 non-virtues. We must restrain ourselves from engaging in these 10 non-virtues. So you left everything and you went to a remote place to develop this shamatha, but if you continuously let loose of your 3 doors, the physical, the verbal, the mind, then it doesn't really serve the purpose. It kind of cancels out your effort. So if one is serious about developing shamatha, then one needs to take seriously about observing pure ethical discipline. Completely ridding yourself of thoughts of desire and so on. So this one is really developing, try to develop renunciation. Because we see qualities in the material things, in the, what you call the conventional, the what you call that, sibe punzo, the worldly pleasures. So that is the one that is distracting us. And that if we have strong this kind of desire, then we may even change our mind. So in order to really curb that, we need to repeatedly contemplate on the faults of samsara, the uselessness of these worldly pleasures. And that will kind of avoid us into driving that direction. And that will help us focus on our meditation. So these are the preconditions that really one needs to take seriously. So it makes sense. Let's say pure ethical, if you fail to have pure ethical discipline, if you fail to give up many activities, if you fail to have a little desire, if you fail to have been contented, and then all kinds of distractions comes. So there's no way you can develop concentration. Because the moment you sit down to meditate, all these desires will manifest. And here you are trying to rest your mind on something else, but all these other things distract you. And then your mind follows those desires. And when you realize it, you are actually really, really wandering elsewhere. You are already imagining all kinds of things, chasing after all kinds of your desires. So there's no way to develop a stable mind which is free from excitement or wandering or scattering. It will be constantly scattered. So for that reason, these conditions, preconditions, are so important. Even in our daily practice, even if we are not, committed in pursuing shamatha, that level of concentration. But even when we do our practices, these are the impediments. These are the hindrances. These impede our practice. Yes, you can still practice, but the quality of your practice is in question. How good is it? How good your practice, Dhamma practice, it depends on whether these play a role or not. Remember this, we always say that if you have so much desire, if you are less contented, if you have so many things in your mind, then even you try to meditate, all that comes, all that desire manifests when you are trying to focus. Remember, sometimes we say that if you have difficulty remembering something, then go and meditate. Because when we start to meditate, instead of focusing on the object of meditation, all these things that I need to do surfaces. Okay, now once we have settled with these prerequisites, preconditions, once you are really following this, and then it's time to begin the actual meditation. So the posture in Tibetan, not really Tibetan, I think it's in Buddhism, we emphasize so much on this posture, the importance of sitting in a particular position. And it has its own benefits. So here the recommended posture is what is called the 7-point posture of Buddha Vairochana. Namanangze, Namnang Chudun. So what are these? So we already know this. Nothing new. That's why I said we have nothing new here. But it can be a reminder. So first, sitting. Sit in full lotus posture or the half lotus posture as appropriate. So it has its own benefit. It is not easy if you are not used to, especially sitting in full lotus posture. It is very difficult. But obviously, if you practice, you get used to it. It becomes easier. And there are benefits. Because if you are able to sit in that particular posture, and if you got used to sitting in that one, it says that one will be able to stay longer period of time in that particular position compared to other postures. If you sit in other postures, we may able to sit for a prolonged period, but not as long as when we sit in full lotus posture. And then because of, okay, let's just go one by one. And then your eyes should be fixed on the tip of your nose. So this one, I think our tendency is to, when we say meditate, the instinct is to close or shut our eyes. And some people find it easier to do. But there were also cases that some people, especially those people who have undergone some trauma, So when they close or shut their eyes, then anxiety arises within them. It brings them those terrible memories. So this one, I mean, in the West, I was cautioned by someone that, oh, we have to be careful when we give this instruction. So anyway, what happens is when you close your eyes, at the beginning, it feels like it is much easier. But then if you need to meditate with your eyes open, you cannot do that. When you start with your eyes a little bit open, it will be difficult at first, but you will get used to it, and then you can meditate with your eyes open. So here, the reason why your eyes should be fixed on the tip of nose is so that your navel and your head, kind of your spine becomes kind of straight. Body straight without leaning too far back or being bent too far forward. So we know that if we bend too far, if we bend too far forward, then sleep comes for some people. Keep your shoulders straight and even. So I will just quickly read this. I don't have to elaborate on this. Do not raise or lower your head or turn it to one side. Set it so that your nose and navel are aligned. So this is to really get your spine straight. Because they say that when your spine is straight, the wind channel is straightened. When the wind channel is straightened, the wind flows better. And there is a relationship between mind and body. Set your teeth and lips in their usual natural. We don't have to contrive anything. Just be natural. Draw your tongue up close to your upper teeth. So this is mainly to prevent drooling. Some people we see that when they fall asleep, then they drool. And also it says if you do a long period of meditation, then it will help prevent feeling thirsty. There is these particular benefits. So these are the seven sets or limbs of postures. And then finally we have something called breathing. So this is an added one by Kamalashila. So what happens is breathing before you start your meditation, after you set in that particular posture, and before you begin your meditation, it is good to take several rounds of breathing, inhalation, exhalation, several rounds, because it helps relax our body. There is no way we can do a meditation or concentrate on a particular object without calming ourselves first. So we need to calm ourselves. So the relationship between this breathing and relaxation is that our brain is the one who interprets the signal. So in the nervous system, I think you already know this. There's something called sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is the function of the function of sympathetic nervous system is to prepare us for action, whereas the parasympathetic nervous system is to calm us down. So even though our brain is supposed to be great and genius, but it is not clever as we imagine. It relies heavily on the signals it gets from body. So when we take a deep breath, when we engage in this deep inhalation and exhalation, the body is sending to the brain that you can calm down, you can shut down, you don't have to prepare for fight and flight, or flee and flight. You can calm down. It is time to calm down. So the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, and it helps us to relax. So when our body calms down, then we can start focusing on the object of meditation. And another important benefit of this breathing exercise is that we need to transform our mind either to a positive or to a neutral one. Let's say if you are agitated by something and if you started to meditate, there is no way you can really do a proper meditation. And meditation, of course, what we are talking about, our purpose of meditation is not about relaxation. But some people nowadays, it becomes a means to relax our body. That's why in the West, mindfulness meditation has become so popular, because they equate mindfulness meditation to relaxation means. That's why you see sometimes that good relaxation is not a sign of good meditation. Sometimes people think, oh, I had a wonderful meditation. I feel so relaxed. We don't know that. So meditation is our upper goal. Our reason for meditating is not to relax, to achieve this relaxation thing. So our is really a spiritual practice, Dharma practice. So Dharma practice, anything, any practice, it must start with positive attitude, positive motivation. Imagine if you are frustrated and agitated and angry, there is no way you can stay away, do something virtue. So you need to change that. You need to transform that mental state first. So what best way to transform that other than engaging in these breathing exercises? So this is, as you see in the picture, when people color clothes, they use white cloths, because white color as a base, catches all kinds of colors. It can absorb other colors, and then it can transform or convert into whatever color you desire. If you try to color a already red cloth to something else, it may not work. So here the same applies. In order for us to start with a positive mind, first we need to change that negative mindset into neutral, and then we can try to change that into positive. No, there's no way you can transform or change your mind from negative directly to a positive. So in between, neutral has to come in. So for that purpose, we do this breathing. Why it is so effective is for ordinary people. For ordinary people, our ability is so limited. Our ability to focus on something is so limited that it can only focus on one object at the same time. There is no way an ordinary mind can focus our mind on two different things. If we are focused on this one, we cannot focus on the other one. Even though we have something called multitasking, but your focus is, your attention is not on that fully, that one object. So what happens when we start engaging in this breathing exercise, and when we focus our mind on this breathing, or now I'm exhaling, I'm inhaling, if you focus your mind on that, then mind get kind of distracted from feeling that agitation. And slowly, slowly, mind forgets that agitation. And that's how it becomes neutral. And then you can color that with a positive mindset. Oh, I think I have already passed the time. Okay, where are we now? Okay, I think we will stop here. It's already 11:25. We're supposed to stop at 11:15. Okay, so let's stop here, and then we will continue or pick up in the next class, which is going to be next month, because I am doing this course, CPE, so our classes are kind of a spread over. Okay, let's do the dedication. Jambe bawe jedara jemba dang kundo zambo deya deshendo deda kungi jeso thalo che jawa deda tamje rabdo ngo dezon jebe jawa tamje je ngowa kanla chodo ngakba de tagi gebe tsawan de gunja zambo jeje rabdo ngo wara yes. Thank you.